Quasi, Rohina Matsiuna, Dyea session, Sharka Hanu station, Ukrakwashi station, Hatzat Sista. What I have just said is my name in India. And the clan that I belong to is the Roadrunner clan. And the little clan that I have is the Sun clan. Each Pueblo member has a clan.
Hi, my name is Dyea, or Josephine Dyea, and I'm from Laguna Pueblo. I didn't grow up on the reservation. I came to California when I was 3 years old because of an agreement that the railroad had with our tribe. And the agreement was if they put the right-of-way for the railroad tracks through our reservation, they would employ our people, our men folks on the railroad. So that's how we came to Barstow. I did grow up on the reservation, but my parents were very traditional. And I'm from the Bear clan. I'm a big bear, and I'm a little parrot. We tried to raise our children traditionally, but it was hard. But I grew up in Barstow, and there was an Indian camp there. And all the Laguna people that came to work for the railroad lived there. We lived all together, so that made it possible for us to practice our traditions, our native traditions. We had dances. We had a lot of things that happened in the reservation happened right here in Barstow. And we were taught some of our language, but we really didn't have use for it. So as a consequence of that, then our language became lost, because in order for you to be fluent in a language, you have to speak it all the time. And there was within the Indian camp, that was the only place where we could speak it. We could, like when we went to school, compared to the reservation, they spoke their language and they used it in every day. But when you live outside of the reservation, you don't have a use for that language. So that's one of my big concerns, is my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, even my children are not fluent in the language as I am not fluent. I understand, but I'm not fluent. But I like to say that when I go back to the reservation, I can understand everything that's going on. But you have to have a certain ton for it, and sometimes you don't have that ton. And so I grew up, even though it wasn't on the reservation, I grew up traditionally. I thought I did. And as I said, my parents were very traditional, so that helped a lot. So if I moved back to the reservation now, I could probably get along very well. And but I'm going back to one of my main concerns is that my children and my grandchildren don't speak the language. And that's losing part of who they are, because they don't know. My husband and I, their grandpa and I, try to treat tradition as much as we can, but I think sometimes you actually have to live it to get it ingrained in you. So we're trying very hard, because once we're gone, then it'll be lost. And the grandpa tries to keep that alive by teaching a language class. And but you have to have a passion to want to learn. And if you don't have that passion, then it's going to all be lost and it'll be gone forever. And that's a sad thing for me. Okay.
Back in those years, we didn't have any electricity or running water. So we had to go in our wagons, pulled by horses, maybe about 2 miles to the water pump to get some water and store it, bring it back and store it in the house. And my grandfather had sheep, so most of the time I was there herding sheep. that was the reason why I didn't go to school early. I think work was more important in those days than education. So the name Dyea has been in the family for 7 generations. I'm going to tell you how the name Dyea originated. This was the Indian name of my great grandfather. Originally, that is just an Indian name, and it was pronounced Dyea. So as time passed, when my dad and his brother were growing up and started school, they did not have a last name. All they had was Indian names. So they were told that they had to have a last name, and they were going to give them the name Jose. But they did not want that name, so they asked them, well, what name do you want? We want the name of our grandfather, Dyea. So that's how Dyea originated. But then, and they spelled it Dyea. But along the way somewhere, it just turned to Dyea. Actually, it's Dyea. And as we grew older, like maybe 15, 16 years old, they sent us away to a Catholic school, high school. And over there, it was like a military type thing. So everywhere we went there on the campus there, we had to march. We had to go to Mass. It was a Catholic school. We had to go to Mass every morning, and we marched there. And to classes, we marched there. We marched to lunch, dinner, breakfast. We marched everywhere we went. And in the classrooms, we were seated separate from girls. And boys on one side, girls on the other side. In the dining room, there was a big wall between 2 dining rooms and only a small door there. So when that door opens, if you were quick enough, you could look through that door and see girls on the other side, and the girls were looking from the other side also. And that's the way it went. But my grandparents taught us that the Creator gave us everything. That what we have is the Creator gave it to us, and He told us not to steal, not to kill, obey your parents, love your neighbor. The Creator, in our traditional way, told us to live like that. And so did the nuns at St. Catherine's. They taught us the same thing, but they told us that what my grandparents told us was wrong. That our parents were like pagans or non-believers or whatever, and that it was wrong. It was hard for me to understand that at the beginning, but they kept drilling it into us that finally I started believing that our traditional ways was wrong and that I should follow the Christianity way. And from about 15 years old till I was maybe 30 years old, I went the Christianity way and left my traditional ways aside, put it to the side. And then finally I realized, how could my parents, my grandparents, when they teach us the same thing what Christianity is teaching us, how could it be wrong? How could it be wrong? So that was hard for me to understand. So finally I went back. I want to go back my traditional ways, because when I was believing in that, everything seemed to go well. Everything seemed to go well. But still, I wanted to go the Christianity way, and I was like caught in the middle. I didn't know which way shall I go or whatever. And so at one time, I just stayed away from both of them. And my wife is a strong believer in Christianity and our ways. And she tells me every day, it's all right, it's all right. You can believe in both ways. It's not wrong to believe in both ways. That took me a long time to understand, and finally I came around and start believing like that. So now I'm happy. I'm happy with the way I believe in both traditionally and the Christianity way, because my dad also once told us, it does not matter what church you go to, what denomination you go to, or what Indian way you believe in, as long as it works for you, then do it. But then when you do it from your heart.
Okay. When I grew up here in Barstow, I attended Barstow High School, and I married young. I was 17 years old. And I think now, as I think back, I think the only change that I would make was I wanted to be a school teacher. And then when I got married, then that was the end of that dream. But I think education is very, very important. And I'm so proud of my children and my grandchildren. They all have good paying jobs. They are all able to raise their family and their jobs. And one of the things that I enjoyed, which most people don't get to do, is they get to be a stay-at-home mom. So I didn't go to, I didn't work until my youngest went to kindergarten, and then I started my career. And my first job was, there's a railroad depot here, and it's in the line of the Harvey House. And you've heard about the Harvey House along the Santa Fe Railroad. So my first job was going at 3 o'clock in the morning to make toast. And I enjoyed that job. And then after that, I went to work at the Marine base, and I flipped hamburgers. And after that, I went to, then I was interviewed for a job for the Red Cross. So I was a coordinator for the Red Cross, and I set up disaster shelters, and I helped bring soldiers and the military home on leave, on emergency leaves. And I enjoyed that job. And when I was at that job, then they called me from the Indian Center, and they said they were looking for someone to become a paralegal. So they asked if I was interested, and I said yes. So I went to school, but I had to go away for 2 weeks at a time. So that was hard on my family, but in the end it all worked out because I'm a certified paralegal. And I ran the legal aid in Barstow for many years. But my grandfather always instilled in me that I should, whenever I got a job, I should try and help my native people. So when this other job came up, I went for an interview, and they had already chosen somebody for the position, and it was with the Riverside San Bernardino County Indian Health. And they had already chosen somebody, and they told them I couldn't go for that interview because I was ill or something. So then they told me that the other lady, another lady told them, you have to interview this lady. You have to interview her. So I went, and when the person that public health nurse that interviewed me went back, and she said, we have to do something because we need this lady, and we already knew that we already hired somebody. So they created another position, which was the other lady was already hired for. And so I ended up with my dream job, and I retired from Riverside San Bernardino County Indian Health after 20 years. And that was my dream, to help my people. And I was in this program that was called, every training that came along was paid for. And I traveled across the United States. I went to Minnesota, I went to Florida, I went to Sacramento, any number of times, and all these different trainings, and as a consequence of that, I'm a certified. I was certified in CPR, and I was certified phlebotomist, and I was certified in foot care, and every training that came, I was eager to go and learn. And so I was able to help my people. And there was this program that I worked for, and it was from the ground up. And to this day, this program is still going. And I was fortunate. And I didn't even know that I was going for that training. And it was called American Indian Health Initiative. And I worked with teen mothers. I worked with mothers that were young as 15 years old. And at one time I had 17 girls that I worked with. And my success story is that I had a girl that had a baby that was 15 years old. And when she finished our program, she graduated from high school. She went on to be a 4-year RN, and she's now captain. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Native American way of respecting Mother Earth. We were taught that we should have a great respect for Mother Earth, and now we're having all these earthquakes, and we're having all these tornadoes, and all this. They call it acts of Mother Nature, but what it is that all the natives believed that we weren't treating Mother Earth right, and she got upset with us. So back on our reservation in New Mexico, they started digging for uranium, and they discovered it on our land, but it was near one of the village, the Puwadi village, and so everything was good, and they took all the uranium out of the land and everything, but they didn't tell the native people that in the uranium there was radioactivity, and a lot of our men folks that work there, and even some women that work there, now they're dying of cancer. And that's another sign. When they came and they built those mines, they didn't cover the earth back up. They didn't show the respect to the earth, and so now there's a lot of people that have died from that exposure from the uranium. So we're taught that whenever we disturb the earth, because the earth is our mother, we're taught that we should leave it the way it was. If we're going to do something, then we clean up our mess, and then we put the earth back. And we talk to the Mother Earth, and we tell her, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and we're not doing it to harm you. But when we're finished, we're going to thank you for letting us disturb you, but we're going to put it back the way it was intended to be put back. There are so many different traditions that it would take forever. And when people think about Native Americans, they think of teepees, they think of scalping, they think of cowboys and Indians, but that's not what we're about. We're not about that. And like on our reservation, there's 7 different villages, but we're all Laguna. But along the Rio Grande River, there's 19 different pueblos, and out of those 19, I think 4 of them speak our language, which is Caricen. And we, our traditions from each village, not from each village, but each, like from one pueblo to another, our spirituality is a little different. And every tribe in the United States has a different spirituality. But that's how, if you lose sight of that spirituality, then forget it, because you lose a part of who you are. And that's what, again, that's not what I want for my grandchildren. I want them to know and be proud that they're Native American and that they have a spirituality and they have something that nobody else could understand but them. And I think that is so, so important. So every chance I get, I try to tell my grandchildren, or if they have questions, and my children, if they have questions about their Native American spirituality, their customs, and whatever they want to know, I want to pass it on so it won't be lost. Okay?